Just be yourself on stage. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. It sounds kind and simple, but it's actually some of the worst advice you'll ever get. I've worked with over 20,000 people in the past 15 years, and this one sentence is behind more stage freezes and forgettable talks than almost anything else I see. So what does being yourself on stage actually require? These 4 things. Number 1, know which version of yourself you're bringing. So when we say just be yourself, what do we actually mean? So we're pretending like there's only one fixed version of us, and that your purpose is to find this one fixed version. But that's wrong. You're not the same person with your kids as you are with your closest friends, or the person of you that's running a meeting at work. Now, all of that is you, the whole gamut of you, and you start recognizing your identity shifts to find the right way to relate to each moment, depending on who you're with, depending on what you're trying to create, depending on what the intention of the meeting is. So the real gift isn't in finding your one true self, it's knowing and having the range to bring through the right part of you in the right interaction to have the most impact. I worked with a CEO once who was running an organization with 3,500 employees. And he was hiding behind the idea of how a CEO is supposed to behave based on how all other CEOs behave. Unwritten kind of ideas. And as we worked together and the mask started coming off for him and more of his authenticity came through, he said to me, Miroslav, this is exactly who I am at home. I just never let it show up at work. I'm fun, I like to laugh, I'm loving, I'm spontaneous, and at work I'm just dry. And I asked what he thought would happen now that he was letting more of that through, and he said there's more trust, more connection. The people who don't belong inside of this organization will step away on their own because I'm actually communicating who we are and what we're about. And it's going to be easier to have real conversations. So number 2, stop calling your nervous system's panic yourself. If you're nervous and you freeze or you blank out up there and you tell yourself, oh, that's just me, it's actually not true. You're lying to yourself and it's not useful. So recognize the stage is there to amplify whatever's unresolved inside you. So that's your need for approval, old fears, overthinking. If you don't prepare to meet that with your full presence, what you're calling being yourself is actually just your nervous system running on survival mechanism. And you're displaying that for everyone to see. So your first instinct on stage is usually just your most ingrained pattern that we want to release. It's this ingrained pattern on hyperspeed. So you disappear into your head, you get performative, and none of it is really you being more of yourself. That's a mask that you learned to manage the freeze a long time ago, and the real authenticity is actually underneath it. Now, by the way, if what I just described is you, the mask you didn't even know you were wearing, that's the actual starting point for influence, our 3-day training. It's not about performing better, it's about finding what's underneath the mask and allowing that to come through, which is your real influence, and it is absolute magic when it comes to the stage. So the link for that is in the description below. Number 3, prepare like the people you admire actually prepare. So notice nobody tells peak performers to just be themselves. Not a concert pianist, not a surgeon, not a sprinter lining up for a race. They prepare because performing at your peak takes ongoing preparation, not just being like, oh, I'm going to wing it and hope for the best. Now, looking spontaneous isn't the same thing as being real. That's how people end up rambling, oversharing, going on random tangents, and before you know it, the time's up because you've wasted the audience's time. Presence and preparation aren't opposites, they're train tracks and laid down to run in the absolute same direction. Number 4, let yourself step into who you haven't let yourself be yet. So when I was at Mind Valley, I invited a participant to come up on the stage. And as he came up, he did his usual thing, which is always what I invite people to do, just to deliver from his natural sense of self. Now, this guy was already confident. You could see he'd done a lot of stage time. You could see that the stage didn't really faze him. And he got up, he delivered, and it was good. It was a solid delivery. And then I paused him and I took him through a couple of attunements. And attunements are a way I allow people to get underneath the mask into what's really happening. And then I asked him to deliver again. And you could hear a pin drop in that room. As he delivered the second time, firstly, it was a bit edgy for him. You could see he was breathing in and closing his eyes, and he looked at me off the microphone and he was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, no, you've got this. And he went back and he looked at the audience and he started speaking, and it's like everyone's presence just moved into him. And you just felt this connection between the room dropping together, and it's like he had the whole room with him all at once. And he looked at me after that and he goes, I didn't even know that was in there. Like, I've done so much speaking and I didn't even know it was possible to communicate like that. There was so much more power, more influence, more authentic vulnerability, like not the breakdown kind, but the kind that pulls people in because you're just being yourself. And He came up to me again when he got off stage and he's like, I still can't believe that was in there and how powerful and how quickly you took me from the first version to the second version. So recognize that the gap between those two things is very close. Like that was a 3-minute adjustment I did with him. But often we're so stuck in performing one way that we don't recognize what's actually available to us. So you need to step into the parts of yourself you've never allowed to show up before, which is going to take more courage, more vulnerability, more conviction of who you really are, because what you want to do is take up the actual space. When you're the speaker, your role is to take up space. And the stage is an invitation to become who you really are, not to perform on top of it. That whole experience is something we earn for getting on the stage time and time again. You earn it by working your stories and finding the real details. You earn it by working with the body, finding where the blind spots are, what you're unaware of. You earn it by continually regulating your nervous system so you can just be on when you get up. Eventually this removes the patterns keeping you small and the real authenticity starts coming through. Just a quick one, if this is landing for you and you want to talk through exactly where you're at and see what the next steps might look like for you, you can book a call with our team. The link's in the description below. So where all 4 of these meet, instead of trying to be yourself on stage, just try to be available. And maybe you don't do this on a paid stage for your first time. Maybe you find some practice stages where the stakes are lower, but you want to be completely available to that room, completely available to the message that's coming through you. So you're not performing, you're not posturing, you're just present. And from that place, you can be in full relationship with your audience and the delivery that's taking place between you. Now, this takes some real presence and it takes some real safety inside your body to not just revert to a script. And that's the delivery method. The presence is the butter that allows everything else to be delivered inside of it. Preparation is, you could say, the bread that's being served on. And neither one works without the other, really. Just be yourself usually means getting up unprepared, making a mess and watching people quietly check out and then give you a pat on the back afterwards. And and somewhere in there you feel it too. You know when people aren't actually listening to you and you're just speaking anyway because you have to. It doesn't give you everything because you didn't prepare for it and you didn't give it everything. And your audience at the times we're on stage is giving us their most valuable asset, which is their time. Now, if we don't lean in and honor that appreciation and don't serve them fully, they're going to feel it as well. They're going to feel deflated or unfull. So don't aim to just be yourself when you get on stage. Aim to prepare yourself before you get to the stage and then be fully available, because that's where the real you shows up. That's where you get absolutely unforgettable and people can't wait to see you again. I'm Miroslav Bardovic. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.